Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to do a character guide on 7. So 7 just got her C90 and got some upgrades here. 7's a character that never really has been great in the game, to be honest. She gets a rework and it always feels like maybe too little too late, or she's just too generic enough that there's other characters you'd rather use. It's pretty similar here. She's not like the greatest character out there, but if you like her, she definitely does some cool things. You can definitely get some use out of her. So you can kind of judge for yourself after watching this video on her. So in this video, we're going to go ahead, we're going to talk about her calls. We're going to look at her artifacts, her spheres, and then we're going to do a showcase and kind of explain how to use the character in a very simple way, right? So starting with the calls here, her calls aren't that crazy. I don't think she's a character I typically would bring in for a call. The main thing with 7 is that she revolves around her snakebite debuff that she gives on enemies. So when you call her in, she will automatically put snakebite on the enemies. And then she has this elemental lash, which basically does 3 elements. It does fire, ice, and thunder damage. And then it will execute twice as long as the enemy you're attacking has the snakebite debuff. So just keep that in mind. But it's just a generic attack, nothing too crazy. There's no special color effect from it, right? Her LD basically just does a big attack. It'll put snakebite on the targets or add more turns of snakebite if they already have it on there. And then the caller gets like a brave damage up, and it's pretty basic, right? And it increases your brave damage dealt as well. So it's not the craziest like in terms of calls. Like I really don't see myself ever using it. So definitely don't summon for 7 just to get her call. But it's something there that you have as an option, right? So let's actually look at 7 as a character and see if she's a character that you'd want to use in your party, right? So we're going to go ahead and let's look at the artifacts first. So for artifacts, you basically want this one right here. Attack 108 and Eyes on Everything boost 2-star. It basically raises all of her stats while an enemy has snakebite. So we'll talk about snakebite because really her whole kit revolves around it. And you're pretty much always going to have this upkept, right? So you really want to have 3 of both of these because then you're getting, 15% to all stats instead of 5, and then you're getting attack 108 times 3, which is really good. So that's the ideal setup to have. If you need a backup setup, I would prioritize actually the Eyes on Everything boost just because you're getting all the stats. But just try to pick 2 combos. I would say Max Brave 330 is something you could sub in if you need to. But try to get attack 108 with that C50, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the spheres now. So on the spheres, the thing to note about 7 is that she does weakness damage. And it's not through elements necessarily, even though she does have the elements on her elemental lash. It's because enemies afflicted with snakebite, she automatically deals weakness damage to them. So weakness damage spheres do work if you want to use those. Just like any other damage dealer, you'd want to focus on attack and brave damage. So I put Xande on here. This one is a weakness sphere, and it increases her max brave and brave damage, which are 2 good things to increase. And then Rydia, which I think is probably the best A slot for a weakness damage dealing character, which is going to give you brave damage and attack. If you have extras, you could throw 2 Rydias on there. It doesn't say it doesn't stack, so Rydias should stack if you want to do that. Otherwise, just pick any generic A sphere that she can activate that's going to do attack or brave damage. Pretty basic there, right? Then in the D slot, I would say use an attack boosting D slot. So Ash, Hope, Lise, Saz, any of those. Luna Freya is the new one that just came out, and it does activate on weakness damage. So I decided to go all in on weakness damage spheres with 7, since she's basically always going to be doing weakness damage, and that's going to give attack to the party. So let's go ahead and hop into the showcase and kind of show you how she works. So we are hopping in on the newest Shinryu. Alright. So you do, the one thing you have to watch out for with 7 is you have to pay attention to which character she's targeting. So what's going to happen is, as I mentioned earlier, there is a snakebite debuff, and this debuff will be on one of the enemies, and that's typically who you want to target. An enemy will get it at start of turn, so you can see here Cloud of Darkness has it. So if we look at Cloud of Darkness, she has the snakebite debuff, okay? Now it just lowers defense, but it is a stacking debuff that'll go up. So it'll lower more and more defense as that goes up, okay? Now the thing, and it also does a 20% speed down, which is good. Now the one thing to note about snakebite, you can only have it on one enemy at a time. So she's kind of like Kadaj. Kadaj kind of has a similar thing where like he puts a debuff on and you kind of focus on that enemy and only one enemy can have the debuff. It's very similar to that. So basically you want to focus on the enemy with Snakebite and always attack them. Typically what I like to do is I do like to open with the LD here, and we're going to target the Snakebite enemy. So let's go ahead and put the, well, we'll do the AA too. It's just a debuff attack up, so just generic buffs that you get for having debuffed enemies. Good to put on when you have it. All right, let's go ahead and do the LD. So we'll go ahead and watch the damage here, and I'll kind of explain what this LD does. Okay, so yeah, 860k, like that's decent, right? So this LD is going to give her a free turn, so she got a free instant turn after it. It's going to give herself a Thoughtful Heart buff, and that's the main reason you're going to use the LD, is to upkeep that. So basically she's going to get Brave and HP damage up, it's going to do Party Attack up, it's going to give Overflow Stolen up, and then Brave and HP damage up. So there's a lot packed in there. It's a very good party support buff that she's getting. And then what happens is the target gets Snakebite 3 automatically, which is the max stack. So you see Snakebite now turn gold, which is telling us that is at max stacks, right? So the other big thing she gets from the LD is she gets a new HP attack called Bondage Whip. Now I'm going to kind of wait to use that because I want to get some more buffs up first before I go into that. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the enemy that has Snakebite on, and you're going to go ahead and use Elemental Lash. So let's use Elemental Lash. Now, if you attack the Snakebite enemy, this will trigger twice. You can see how it went twice there. And there, it did about mill damage. So, I mean, very good damage, right? So, like, 7, you know, is definitely not a bad character. She's actually a good damage dealer. It's just that there are other characters that can do what she does better, and she's doesn't have as much utility as other characters, but she's not bad by any means. Like, she's actually pretty good. So Elemental Lash, as we saw there, we got that to trigger twice, and it gives her a really nice attack up. Now that we have that attack up and we've got the LD buff up, now is when you kind of want to go into Bondage Whip. So I'm going to kind of explain what that does. That also does do a speed down on the enemy as well, which you can see triggered there. Let's go ahead and let's do, we'll just do an energy heal. I'm not really going to worry about going into a force time here. But what I do want to do is I do want to get this LD off. Or actually, I actually don't want to go into the LD, but I do want to just put Quick Prayer manually on 7. Because if I use the LD, then Luna Freya is going to get a bunch of turns, and I don't want this to take forever, but I will put Luna Freya's BT effect up. Normally, it's nice to have the BT effect up with Luna Freya first, because then you're going to get an extra turn on any of her prayer buffs, but that's fine. I wanted to get that Quick Prayer on right away, so I know that 7's going to get a bunch of turns coming up here. And, I mean, Luna Freya is going to be a staple in my showcases for a while just because of that. I can just let characters spam turns, and she just makes characters look their best, right? She's such a good character. Alright, so we'll let these attacks go through. We've got Rem up here. Rem, I guess, we don't even have to swap turns. I can just, like, pop the LD here. So typically what you're doing is, if you're someone that likes to balance the HP on your enemies, try to have your other characters hit the non-Snakebite enemy, since 7's always going to be attacking the Snakebite enemy, so use that to kind of balance it out, but it always depends. So we're going to go back to our Snakebite enemy here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to use Bondage Whip. So what this does, the main thing that it does is it actually gives an 8-turn Bondage Whip buff to 7, and you'll see now we're getting follow-ups. So basically what happens now with this Bondage Whip buff is basically there's going to be a follow-up, and it's going to happen after anybody's turn. So it's not like, it's a fairly weak for a follow-up attack. Like characters like Kayn and Sisneys, they are way stronger. But it does scale with force time, and it is a follow-up you can utilize if you like follow-ups. They're just other characters that have way stronger follow-ups. But now if I took like a bunch of instant turns with the character, as long as that 8-turn buff is up, like those follow-ups are coming, right? And then basically after that, you can kind of go wherever you want. So you kind of can just kind of use attacks as you need to. Snakebite and Lash, we'll just use this. This reapplies the Snakebite debuff. So if you want to switch enemies, you would use this first to switch enemies. But since I'm already on Cloud of Darkness, I'm just going to stay there. But let's go ahead and just use the 15 so that you guys can see it. You see pretty decent low damage. Then we get the follow-up. You can see the follow-up only did 25k. So it's very, very weak follow-up. So hopefully in the future, the next time she gets an upgrade, if they make that follow-up more respectable, like this actually could be a very good, like she's got the skeleton of what could be a top tier character, and literally all she would need is if instead of 25k, those follow-ups are doing like 300k, 400k, like then she would be like a must in a lot of team builds, because she does a lot of good damage on her own, and then that follow-up damage, you could really abuse that, right? So on the snake bite and lash there, you saw we did the attack there. Does weak damage on snake bitten targets. Gives her a nice max brave up. And then once again, it will reapply the snake bite buff to 6 turns. So you saw that reset there, right? So after that, you're basically just pressing attacks. Once again, I would save the LD for when you need it. And you can also recover skill uses of skill 1. And I believe that's going to come through the EX. We'll do the EX here in a minute. We'll just kind of work our way up to it. But usually my filler move is this Elemental Lash because it does a lot of damage. Like a mil damage with a little follow-up at the end. That's pretty good. And mine is only Force Enhanced 10. Everything else about... And I don't have blue armor, so like 7 can look better than this, right? So she actually is putting up really good numbers in terms of offensive damage, right? Let's go ahead and just pop this because it's free. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to spam a couple turns here. And I want to put a heavy prayer actually on. What I think I want to do. I want to see 7 with a heavy prayer on. And 7's got the EX, and that's pretty much the only thing that we need to see here. So let's go ahead and pop another one. Alright, so now we should be ready to pop the heavy prayer. And see, you can see as I'm just spamming turns, the bondage whip is just going, right? So that is kind of nice. So let's put the heavy prayer on 7 so she'll hit harder. Okay, and you saw already on the follow-up, it went up from 25k to like 43k. So we already almost doubled the damage of her follow-ups just by putting the heavy prayer on, which is kind of crazy, right? So let's go ahead and do Diamond Dust here. You just can just instantly see how Lunafreya makes your characters better. Give them a bunch of turns, make them hit really hard, support the party, heal. She's crazy. Okay. I feel like every showcase now is going to be like half a Lunafreya showcase, half the other characters, right? All right, let's do Sadistic Spikes, which is the EX. Let's pop that off. Let's see how much damage we do with the heavy prayer on. It should be pretty good. Oh yeah, about a mil AoE there. Pretty good. And then, yeah, the follow-up's just extra dumps there, right? You saw the extra HP dumps. Yeah, it's... it's very crazy. So the EX, what else did we get from that? So basically, once again, does weakness damage because of Snakebite. Recovers a skill use of Snakebite and Lash, like I said, and then does reapply Snakebite, the Snakebite debuff, right? So what happened there, as you can see, we actually targeted the other enemy, and we put Snakebite on them. So now that's the enemy we would want to target with 7. So that's another way you can swap targets. You can either use the 15 or you can use the LD. Now you see we have to rebuild up the stack. So that's the other thing you have to keep in mind about switching targets. You're going to lose those stacks, so you have to build them up. It only stacks at 3, so it builds up quite quickly, so not a huge deal there. So let's go ahead and let's swap. And let's go back into 7 again. And you can see we got the Sadistic Spikes. We got that going. All the follow-ups, all the extra damage. Alright, and that's basically it. Let's do another Elemental Lash with the Heavy Prayer on. Let's see how much damage this does. Oh yeah, that was like almost 1.2 mil there. So anyways, guys, there you go. That's 7. Pretty simple to play. Fun character. She hits pretty darn hard, right? I think she has a lot of potentials with the follow-ups. It will still do decent damage in a built-up force time, just not as good as like Kayn or Cissnei, right? So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of 7. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.